Thank you.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. We are so thankful that you guys are willing and able to participate with us today in our first ever virtual session for Education Invitational. We're so glad that you guys are here. We get a chance to actually talk about some stuff that's going on in education, as we all have a vested interest in, and collaborate with each other in order to do so. Before we really get started, we want to make a quick introduction. We actually have the pleasure of having Steve Stovall on the meeting today. He is the chair of the Professional Development Committee this year, and he has just a couple words he'd like to share. So Steve, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and say your couple words?
Absolutely. If I can get myself unmuted there. Thank you for that introduction, John, and welcome to everyone to this virtual Education Invitational. As he said, I am Steve Stovall, and I'm a broker here in Abilene, Texas. I am here with the agents, and we do the training in the office, as I know that you deal with many brokers that are doing just that. And we've all gotten used to these kinds of Zoom meetings, and it's a little bit unusual, but I really do appreciate the staff of the Texas Realtors for putting this on, for taking that effort. And they have just done an unbelievable job during this unprecedented time. You know, they're working from their homes and continuing to do the job that we need done as Texas Realtors. So we do appreciate that. Today we have association staff from all across Texas in our meeting. You are some of the most important people in the education process. We can have the best programs in the world, but without the delivery, no one will see them. So thank you for what you do for Texas Realtors. And, we know that there are a lot of educational offerings out there, but the programs from the Texas Realtors should be setting the standard. We want the very best curriculum, the very best instructors, and the best offerings that any realtor can get to be through the Texas Realtors. So we want to hear from you. We want your feedback, and we look forward to collaborating with you in these upcoming sessions.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Before we really get going, we recognize that we have some new faces in professional development. And normally we'd be in a room and it'd be readily noticeable as to who those people are. But since we're all in this huge Hollywood squares, it's almost impossible. So what we'd like to do is actually run through a quick introduction of the staff before we get going and actually start talking about the stuff that we wanted to talk about today. So Deb, if you want to go ahead and get started.
Thanks, John. Well, I think many of you know me. I'm Deb Hernandez. I'm the Director of Professional Development for the association, and I've been with them for almost 14 years. It'll be 14 years in July. So I'm glad that you're there, and I'm always available if you need to talk about anything. So just give me a call or drop me an email. Thank you.
All right, Gregory.
I get to introduce myself? Wow, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. My name is Gregory Lang, and as I was looking at the screen, I don't think there's anybody on the screen that does not know me, that I have not communicated with in my time at Texas Realtors. So it's a pleasure to see all of you today. And again, thank you for coming.
Wait, Gregory, what do you do?
Oh, what do I do? Harass everybody on the screen? No, I am the I am the senior coordinator for professional development and primarily working with logistics as it relates to courses, getting them approved, disseminating course content, getting it produced and sent out to the local associations for their classes.
All right, let's go to Eric.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric Lindsay. I'm the operations coordinator. So I'm the one that takes all the information that y'all send back in as far as the evaluations and the tests. I make sure I get the tests graded, I get the evaluations done, so that way you are better or more informed of the instructors and exactly who y'all want to teach next. I also get to deal with Gregory and Deb and John, hence the drinking habit that I pretty much have now. But I really enjoy my job, and I wouldn't have it without y'all. So I thank each and every one of y'all for everything that y'all do.
Okay, Morgan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Urbanovsky, and I am the Professional Development Marketing Assistant. I make sure that all the courses are put out to our members so they know of the offerings that are happening in our local associations. I've also been doing a lot of invoicing lately, so you've probably all gotten an email from me at one point or another. I look forward to working with you. If you have any marketing needs or suggestions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
We may have lost John, so I will go ahead and go. My name is Shiloh Modisette. I am the program manager for professional development. I am the newest one to the team. I got 2 weeks in the office, and then they sent us all to our houses. So I've been on the team for about 2 months, and my role is really to make sure our programs are happening. So if there's anything that I can help to make those run smoother, that is what I do. I also work on content editing and then delivery. I'm excited to be here with y'all and to see faces now for the first time.
Yay. Now, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Woohoo. Okay. So thank you, Shiloh. And yes, I was right in the middle of trying to introduce you and realized that no one could hear me. That's awesome. So in full confessional, I live in the middle of nowhere and I have multiple kids trying to do homework right now, which means they're all on the internet and I'm trying to get them off. But if you lose me for whatever reason, you're in good hands with everybody else. And so I apologize in advance if that actually happens. So my name is John Hauser. I've worked at the association. This December would be 15 years. And I love every minute of it. And really, people often ask me, John, what do you do at the association? I'm like, I don't really know. At the end of the day, I just do what Deb tells me to do. And so it's a privilege to get to work with you guys on a regular basis and to collaborate and to find new ways and new things that we can do to better enhance the experience of our members in offering quality education. So before we get going, I fully recognize I do already have a tendency to talk fast. And because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose the internet connection, I'm going to talk even faster. And so I apologize for that. I will try to keep it slow. And I know that other people can actually step in and fill in everything I'm going to talk about. So I will try to keep it slow, or at least in a reasonable rate. But as far as the way that today is going to work, there's a number of people on the session for today, and there's a lot of things that we want to make sure that we get a chance to address. And we also want to get your feedback as well. So the way this is going to operate, we want to honor your time and try and keep this to an hour. So we will run through our components, which will be a few minutes each. If you do have any immediate pressing questions, rather than in a normal classroom setting where we would ask you guys to unmute yourselves and to dialogue back and forth, because there's only an hour, this is more of a fire hose approach at the very beginning. We're going to ask that you simply just use the chat feature to ask your questions or save them and ask us at a later time, because we will have a Q&A component at the very end. Shiloh is actually going to be managing the chat feature. She will make sure and grab all the questions, and she will either ask them if it's a large group of people asking the same thing over and over again, or if it's a unique one, she might reach out and say, okay, Steve or Debbie or Roxy, you had a question about this, can you expound upon it? But that will be at the end. So please keep your questions, please have questions and keep them at the end. And we're going to run through a few things that we just want to make sure that we're addressing in this very first session of the Education Invitational. So the very first thing to get us started is really, I don't know if you guys noticed, but education is a little different now. And it started around, at least for us, March 16th. That was the day that Texas Realtors said we need to close our offices and we need to go home and we need to start working from home. And for the first 2 weeks after that, it was mass chaos trying to figure out, okay, how is this going to work and how is this going to operate? And a lot of things that we used to do, we had to change how we did them and how things worked. And I'm sure the exact same was for you as well. We had to move into this idea of completely remote as opposed to people going to local associations. And we had to try and accommodate that in a number of different ways. And the specific and logistics regarding that, we will make sure we cover through the rest of this time. Gregory and Eric and others are going to be talking about stuff like that. But the one thing I wanted to share with you is that everything that we have done up until this point, all the changes that we have made, our goal is to not have to revert back. The options that are currently available to you today will continue to be available to you going forward. Now, of course, we all agree an in-person, face-to-face meeting and an in-person, face-to-face education session is the optimal goal, but that does not preclude the value of remote education in this capacity. So what we're doing right now is not a temporary fix. It's not a quick fix that we're going to have to revert back to. We will be able to continue in this environment going forward. So what does that mean? It means education and the way that we promote it and the way that we talk about it is going to change at the end of the day. You know, instead of getting people to come to our building, it is possible we can also have people still in remote sessions, still getting the quality of education or a hybrid thereof. So with that, we fully recognize that, for instance, our website, it's wrong right now. If you go to the Find a Course feature and you try and look up any class, it will say that there is a class that is in Pampa, Texas. No, it's not. It's remote. And so therefore, we need to find a way to adjust our website to make sure that the information that is on our website is actually accurate. We're going to change something that's in cart to where you'll actually have 3 choices inside the cart feature that will indicate in-person, remote, or both. And you get to choose what kind of environment your class is going to be, or a combination thereof. So with that, you will be able to select, it is completely remote, it is all in. I knew that was going to happen. All right, so I don't know what you heard, but I'll kind of catch up where I think we were. But at the end of the day, there are 3 different sessions that you're going to be able to choose from on CART, completely remote, completely in person, or a hybrid thereof. And when you choose those, it's going to change the filtering options on the Find a Course feature. So people from all over Texas, if they're really dying to have an SFR, then they can actually find an SFR that's in a remote or a hybrid session, and they can join it regardless of wherever they are. And so it's going to really open the doors to possibilities. Somebody had a quick question and I saw it, and I'm going to catch it really quick because I thought it was good. And yes, Charlotte already answered it because she's on top of it, so I'm going to leave you alone. But yes, in-person means it's actually at, or more importantly, through your association with people in place. That is what that means. So In person is face-to-face, remote, completely remote, hybrid is joint between the two. So with that, that means that as you're scheduling your classes, you need to make sure that the instructors are capable of doing either the completely remote, completely hybrid, or a hybrid of the two, or completely in person. So you need to make sure that the instructors you're hiring are ready for what you're trying to accomplish. But yeah, it's going to actually change the way it's going to filter on our website. So if people are looking for something remote, they'll find it. In person, they'll find it, or a hybrid between the two. It'll actually show up on both filters. So that is the one major change as far as the logistics of way you can think of education. Also, what value you bring to the class is oftentimes, admittedly, our classes used to be our experiences that people would come into the class and they would get to know our staff and they would get to have the lunch provided by the sponsor. They would get to have free parking or not, or whatever there might be, all these different components. That's no longer true. And so as you're looking at your education going forward and thinking about what kind of value you're bringing, those are things that I would definitely keep in mind, that education is different, and it could be different from now on. So as you're planning not only for the rest of this year, but also for next year, that's something to consider, is what value are you bringing with your education opportunities, especially with this new environment. The other thing I was going to mention is that there's a lot of hiccups as to the logistics of how things work. We have a platform called Broadcast Classes. And those broadcast classes we put on a Google Calendar. You as associations can choose to join, and then you will schedule or host your classes and people. And then when the class is over, you tell us about the classes and we give a specific charge for you. A lot of people have asked, well, when I offer a Zoom or a GoToMeeting class or whatever you're offering on my own, is that also a broadcast class? The logistics are practically the same. The difference, however, is when we use the term broadcast, that means we're paying the instructor, really, is what it means. And when you're offering the classes in a completely remote setting right now, and you have your participants at your location and you're contracting the instructor, that is still a regular association class that you offered on a regular basis. It's okay that it's via Zoom or whatever platform you're using in this environment. That's okay. But the important thing is that broadcast, from our standpoint, means that we're contracting the instructor. And remote or any other environment where you're contracting the instructor, it's going to be as a live classroom experience as it always has. So for instance, if you have a service level agreement and you offer a CE class to your members and you turned it into us and it was completely remote and it was all through Zoom, it still complies with the service level agreement feature, which means that you owe us nothing for that. You don't owe us because it's not on the Google Calendar, basically, at the end of the day. The Google Calendar is how we pay, or that's how you know which instructors we pay for. So those are the two major things that I wanted to make sure that we articulated at this point, is looking at the way the landscape of education has and continues to change, and that it isn't going to necessarily go back unless that's what you want. It's an a la carte feature, so you can do that or not as to what's in the best interest of your members at your association, but it is a possibility. And then also the idea of pricing. We fully recognize that it's confusing when you have the exact same features and tools and abilities that we have, and how do you pay what and for whatever. So basically, if you're paying the instructor, it follows a normal classroom experience, and if not, then that's a broadcast class. So that concludes my part. I'm sure that I'm very opinionated and very commenting, and so considering I still have internet connection, I'll be jumping back in periodically. But at this point, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Gregory. He's going to be talking about exams. Gregory, are you there?
I think I am here. He's back. One of the things that John mentioned, and I have to apologize for, is that in working with him for the last 15 years, I tend to talk fast as well. But one of the things that, of course, when he mentioned that we got sent home on March 16th, one of the things that we had to look at immediately and how to address it would be the administration of course exams. So basically, after looking at a few different options, we realized, of course, with the current situation, that those exams would have to be an online platform format. So we did some research, looked at a couple of different options, and came up with what we call Class Marker to deliver those online exams. And one of the things, so far that we found out is Class Marker has proven to be very efficient and very accurate as a means to achieve that goal. As far as the classes that require exams, all of you are familiar with GRI, and I know some of you have heard of Realtor Launch and have even offered the Realtor Launch classes. Well, for those classes, basically, an exam link is created for each individual course offering. and will be emailed to association staff anywhere from 2 to 3 days prior to the exact test date. So you'll have time to look at the link. You can even test it. When you click on it, it will open up on a web page, and you'll see the title of the course. You'll see fields for the students to enter their name, first and last name, their license number, TREC license number, and also their email address. For Realtor Launch and GRI classes, it's a pretty straightforward process. You simply send out the link as instructed, directed by the instructor. Where it gets a little tricky has been with the TREC non-elective courses. That's Legal 1 and 2 and Broker Responsibility. Whereas we have created exam links for those, they have a unique feature in that there must be a non-disclosure agreement or acknowledgement from the student to not disseminate, test, or answer information in any capacity. No copying it, no taking photos, no, like I say, disseminating it in any fashion outside of the classroom. Again, using the class marker program, we've created links for Legal 1 and 2 and Broker Responsibility exams with the non-disclosure acknowledgement embedded in the exam. And the process works pretty much the same. The links will go out anywhere from 2 to 3 days before the day of class, the testing date, and you send those out to the students as directed by the instructor. Wanted to let you know that for the legal exams, there is a time limit of 15 minutes. And then for broker responsibility, there is a time limit of 90 minutes. So you can inform the students and they have an idea of how they need to proceed in going through the exam. Because I know not everybody reads at the same pace, not everybody comprehends at the same pace, but just to make them aware that there are time limits on these exams. The big thing about this, as I mentioned, with these TREC non-disclosure courses is, non-elective courses, is a non-disclosure agreement. Now, we have this process in place to administer the exams online with a non-disclosure. Instructors are not required to use that particular platform. If they have a different way they'd rather administer it, if they want to use something like Kahoot or a PowerPoint, if they want to do it orally, or they develop something in Google Docs, that is fine for them to deliver the exam. The thing that you have to be aware of, if you are hosting Legal 1 and 2 Broker Responsibility with an instructor that is going to use an alternate method of administering the exam, then you as the co-host must secure the non-disclosure acknowledgement from the students before they can complete the class and take the exam. So that's one of the things you have to be aware of. So you want to talk with your instructor as you're contracting them about how do they plan to administer the exam as we're working through this current environment. And I guess the last thing related to that, and actually, yeah, this is more so related to the instructors, but up until now, the exams for Legal 1 and 2 and Broker Responsibility have been given out free of charge, but effective starting next week, May 25th, there will be a $25 exam access fee for each course instance. That's not a per person fee, that is a course instance fee, but that is the responsibility of the instructor. So again, you want to get with your instructors. They've been made aware of this change and of this information, but you want to get with them in advance to find out how they plan to administer the exams for Legal 1 and 2 and Broker Responsibility. If for any reason you need a copy of a non-disclosure agreement, if you have to use one, we do have a template on the website that we can provide for you if that becomes the case. And I do believe that's it.
Thanks, Gregory. I just want to recap one thing that you just mentioned. The GRI classes forevermore will be using class marker. We're not giving instructors choices for that. That will forevermore, in-person, hybrid, remote, doesn't matter, because it is so efficient and the grades count. We need to make sure we collect that data as quickly as possible. So our goal is that from now on, all GRI classes will be using class marker for the test taking ability. And there are 90 minutes, 90, correct, Gregory, for that one?
That's correct. And are you also going to include the Realtor Launch in that, since they're all SAE?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. GRI, Realtor Launch, any SAE course, because all of those classes require an exam, and the exam has to be passed to be able to get the certificate of completion. So any SAE course that we offer through our provider, henceforth and forevermore, until otherwise notified, will be with Class Marker, and we will have the link that we will send you for that class instance at that class time. The whole premise behind the Legal 1, Legal 2, and Broker Responsibility, as Gregory had mentioned, we offer that to instructors because we recognize that just as much as we had to transition to this new environment, they also had to transition to this new environment. And in the process of doing so, we were giving them a stopgap to be able to transition, because our fear was that an instructor was going to take this exam and email it out to the participants. And that is a huge no-no. We could lose our provider for doing that. That's the whole premise behind the confidentiality agreement. So that was our goal, was to create a stopgap for a period of time for them to figure out and adjust their teaching strategies however they need to, which is why, as we continue to incur a fairly large charge for these classes, we want to give them a transition option, but there's so many options that are out there for these classes and these exams that at the end of the day, A, don't count, you just have to take it, but B, it's honestly not in the best interest of the member when you think about it, because when the Class Marker exam occurs, they take the test, they have 15 minutes, and when they're done, when the instructor then wants to go through the review, the participant has no way of actually seeing how they scored on that exam, or how they scored on that quiz or test question. They had no way to know exactly what they did on that question. They could say, I think I got it right. So it's not really helpful in the grand scheme of things. And if you go through it orally or through Kahoot or something else like that, it allows you to go through question by question. At the end of the day, the option is still up to the instructor unless you specifically tell them this is the only option. If this is the only option you want them to use Class Marker or you don't, then that is something that you can communicate with them. But at the end of the day, this is their teaching strategy for their classes, and so this is their style, so to speak. Admittedly, we sent a message out last Friday about this, and when we did, one person replied back saying, I still want to do this. And so we called them and we said, are you sure? And after we were finished talking with them, we're like, no, I don't want to do this. That's silly. This is so much better for the member if we do it this way. And it makes a lot more sense because then we can talk about it with them. And so I'd be very surprised if you see many instructors wanting to use Class Marker going forward. And more importantly, it doesn't impact you financially. It just only impacts you logistically about how they might need to address the non-disclosure or confidentiality agreement that Gregory had mentioned. That's really it, how you address that, and also how you monitor the exam. Gregory, did I say anything wrong, or is that right? Are we good?
That's right. You are good. That's the main thing. Like I say, if they use an alternate method, then the host of the course is responsible for the non-disclosure and getting that secured, and that's pretty much it.
I actually have two clarifying questions.
Yep.
So the first one is, if they take the test verbally, do they still need to agree to the non-disclosure, and how should they do that? And then the second one is, can you clarify who pays the $25 fee and for which tests they need to pay those, or which courses they need to pay those?
Gregory, you got it?
Okay, yeah. Second question first. The tests that we're talking about refer to strictly to Legal 1 and 2 and Broker Responsibility, those classes. And it would be per course instance. So let's say one day you host Legal 1 and the instructor chooses to use the online Class Marker platform, that instructor would be assessed a $25 fee for using that. If you do Legal 1 and 2 in the same day and use the Class Marker platform for each class, then it would be a $50 fee related to that. And again, that fee is an assessment to the instructor, not to the association. And then Shiloh, what was the other question?
How should they acknowledge the non-disclosure if they take the test verbally?
If they take the test verbally, I believe we can accept a verbal acknowledgement. The instructor or someone would have to have the copy of the non-disclosure agreement, read it, and I guess by a show of hands, they can acknowledge that they agree to the terms of the non-disclosure agreement. Then I think we lost, oh, there he is. John, can they do that acknowledgement verbally if the test is administered orally?
Yeah, so what some associations do is they actually start recording and then they share the screen and they show a template of the non-disclosure agreement. And the instructor will then say, hey guys, by virtue of you staying in this class, what you are agreeing to is that you are not going to copy down these test answers as we go over them. And so by staying in this class, you are henceforth agreeing to not writing the test questions down as we go through it. And then they stop recording, they stop sharing their screen, and they go on like normal. But you have written documentation that that's what you have done. And by them staying in the class, they have now agreed to that confidentiality agreement or non-disclosure agreement. And then you can continue on like normal. And that can be true for any other method besides the class marker. And you can even do it for class marker. It's just embedded within it, so you don't have to. But yeah, they have to acknowledge it. And so by staying in the class, after you've read it and you've told them that, then that is by default acknowledging it. So, Gregory, you good? Shiloh, we good? Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. I was looking at Elizabeth's question right before then, because of something that she was saying, a suggestion that she made was for legal 1 and 2, as far as when they register, is to add the non-disclosure as part of the registration process.
There you go. Yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can do it. So at the end of the day, you just have to know and acknowledge it, or show proof that they have acknowledged this. That's really it at the end of the day. They don't have to sign anything necessarily. So, okay, so I think we're good with that. Let's go ahead and go on over to Eric, and you're going to be talking about online evaluation.
Correct. Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you again. Without your help, the virtual classroom we have today would not exist. Without your patience and understanding, we could not have made any of this possible. I know we have been thrown into this and into this pandemic, but we have proven the pandemic is not going to stop us. We continue to move forward. We'll continue to provide education and all benefits to our members, which is something that I'm really proud of. There are other state associations and even entities that are looking at us and asking, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Can they teach us to do it? There's one thing that we have that they don't. We can show them backwards, forwards all day long what we do, but we have the backing of you and our members. We are leading we are leading in the classroom right now as far as education through all the states. I'm sure some of you are wondering, what are the benefits to all this? Well, not only are you able to get up, walk over to your computer and start a classroom before you even have, your clue and coffee in the morning, and still provide a valuable service to our members. You're still wondering, well, what's in it for us? Well, it's saving you time. It's saving you gas money and having to get in your car and drive to your office. You're no longer having to hand out papers. You're saving trees. You're simply just sending out an email and the link to the classes. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. It's saving you money as far as having to get up and scan in all the paperwork and make sure all the paperwork and tests and everything has actually gone through, and then you're having to file it away. You don't have to do any of that anymore. By the time you've done all that, and most of your day has already gone by. So no more just sitting there with all these papers trying to get them in order and trying to get them to go through and praying that they went through. Now you just simply upload it in the cart and poof, it's done. Well, it's kind of done. There's this one little thing that John did mention. It's a bit of an underdog, and that is the instructor evaluation. It's that one little sheet that nobody really thinks about. People look at it and go, it really doesn't affect me. Well, they're kind of wrong. I'm not wasting my time on this. I've sat here long enough. I'm ready to go. Well, you see that one little thing right there, that questionnaire, that's what determines the quality of their education. Without that, we don't know if the instructor and the content and the material is valuable. Does it meet our members' needs? We don't know. So we actually need that. They're the ones that make our paychecks possible. We need to keep them happy. That one little evaluation, it decides if the instructor is actually doing their job. Is the instructor capable of teaching or not? We don't know. Some people are full of knowledge. Take John Hauser, for example. The dude's brilliant, but he's not very good at conveying it, right? And sometimes he'll just kind of lose you in the conversation. And some people know it backwards and forwards. But teaching is a gift. Either you have it or you don't. Another thing is you need to get their evaluations turned in. Well, once again, simply just load it in the cart and we're done. And I like that for the fact that it saves y'all a lot of time and it saves a lot of money. Another thing is you don't have to wait till the end of class to send it to them. If they're thinking, well, I need to hurry up and go, I'm tired of being here. Well, send it to them at the beginning of class. Send it to them halfway through the class. Send it to them on their last break and just kind of remind them, hey, you might want to do this evaluation. Don't forget it. And so, like I was trying to say, that one little thing, it does make a big difference. It helps us determine what the instructor is doing as far as their job. Is the content of that they are getting valuable? So I'm just saying, just don't overlook it. That's all. All right. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Eric. You know, the one thing I was going to also add on to that just really fast is going back to that whole new normal, the way that we're doing evaluations now is not going to change. We have found that this to be much more efficient than the previous way. Not only do we have to worry about the printing of the evaluations and them completing it and us figuring out what their handwriting was saying, and then after they scan it back to us and we have to view all these tabulations, the new method is much, much more efficient. In fact, since we've moved to being completely remote, we were behind on evaluations by like, what, 4 or 5 months, Eric, or something like that in some of our classes, because it just takes that long when we're doing thousands upon thousands of classes. We were that far back, and now we're about, what, 2 weeks back now? And so, I mean, Eric's been able to catch us up basically because of this new environment. So our goal is to be much more efficient. So Eric, it sounds like you got something to say.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah. Right
Okay.
now we are to the 15th of last month.
Yeah, and we were in, before February, I think, and well, obviously before February, but we were in October, I think, in February, and so now we're in March, April, and it's in May. So we've caught up a lot comparatively. So our goal is to continue on in this fashion. The other thing I was going to mention, because I don't know if Eric said this or not, but the differentiation between the evaluations, have you mentioned that?
No.
Do you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we have a general evaluation. That general evaluation is for everything across the board except GRI. And the reason why is because GRI has 4 different days, and you'd be amazed at how many people don't know what day or topic they're taking at that time. And we need to know, because when somebody teaches a specific topic, we rate them on that one topic, even though it's a 4-day class, right? And so we actually have templated evaluations that predetermine the topic in which they are evaluating. So for the GRI topics in particular, we actually have the specific ones listed out. And I think, Gregory, you're sending those out, right? The specific ones, so it says which one is which. Yeah. Okay. So evaluation, everything but GRI. GRI, you have 4 specific ones that you're going to be sending out. It'd be optimal maybe to send it once a day. That way they know which one they're doing. Or you can send them all at once, as long as they understand that each one is specified to each day. And the reason why is so that way we can make sure that the instructor is getting rated appropriately. That's really it. But yeah, the efficiency of this is just unbelievable. And in addition to that, Eric is also starting to, I think as of last week, we're starting to actually include you guys on the classes that you're offering and scheduling with instructors. You should also now be getting the evaluations, and it's actually a snapshot, and it has the chart of evaluations that we used to send, and also the comments all at one time. So not only is it getting faster, but you're also getting the information as well. So that was the only additional thing I was going to mention to Eric. Is there anything more, Eric, that we need to address?
Sorry, my mic was off. No, there's nothing else to address. So.
Great. With that, Shiloh, is it okay if we move on? Or do we need to address something right now? Okay, good. All right, we're going to move on to Morgan. She's going to be talking about marketing.
Hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Urbanovsky. I am the marketing assistant. I started in January. I hope I've had the opportunity to contact all of you and speak to you. But just want to give you an update on marketing. Recently, we had to halt all our marketing messages to comply with state and federal regulations due to COVID-19. We didn't want to promote classes that were still being held in person if it contrasted with the regulations set by healthcare professionals. Moving forward, we have started sending out marketing messages again to members with the expectation that classes will be held remotely. And as those orders are lifted, we can continue to send out, the in-person again, but we can talk about that at a later date when things seem to have settled down. I tend to send out messages more than a few weeks in advance, so I can give the members time to register and make room in their schedule for all these classes. We've also reached out to instructors to ask for promotional flyers or videos that might help promote their courses that we can put into our marketing messages. If you have any ideas or feedback on how to help promote or market classes for your association specifically, you can always reach out to me. We can always chat about that. I'm here for all your marketing and promotional needs. If you have registration links for classes that are supplied on the Find a Course page, when you put your classes into cart, I will automatically pull those registration links to put them in your emails directly. And I'm going to show you exactly where you can put them in a moment. You also have access to marketing materials for Texas Realtors and NAR designations and certifications. Those are going to be on the AE course administration page. I'm going to show you exactly where those are as well in a moment. You can feel free to download these and use them as you see fit to market designations and certifications. If there's any marketing materials that you think are missing or you'd like to see more of in the future, please let me know. We can work together on that. Let me go ahead and show you. If you would all look to your screen. So when I click on add a new class, at the very bottom, you can see where I have the circle. That is where you put your registration link. It'll automatically put a link in there so that when members go to the Find a Course page, they can click on it and instantly register for your class. On the course administration page, towards the bottom, you will see course marketing materials. This is the designation information sheet, and it has information about all the specific certifications and designations on here as well. On the AE course administration page, you can find that. And that's all I have for you guys. So thank you.
Thanks, Morgan. So I think just to move along, because we fully recognize, hand clap, that's awesome. We're going to move forward just to make sure we have plenty of time for the Q&A, and we're going to move to Gregory about the printed versus electronic books. So Gregory, take it away.
All right, here we go one more time. Again, with all the adjustments that we've had to make, and we had to adjust how the exams were delivered. Well, the fact that we're not in our office has caused a change in how we print and ship materials. So currently, any of the materials that normally require a book, especially primarily like GRI, REBAC, REBI classes, TAHS, things of that nature, books are still available. But under the current conditions, we need a minimum of a 2-week notice prior to the class start date in order to print and ship books and get them there in a timely fashion. Again, primarily because we are not in our office to be able to print, and then we have a third party that is printing materials for us at this time, and we just need that leeway for them in order to make sure things get printed and shipped and delivered in a timely fashion. Basically, if you decide, and I usually will send out an email, I'm looking at upcoming class rosters or class courses to see classes that normally get a book, and I'm emailing those locations to ask if they want books and how many, and letting them know a specific date as far as the latest date that I can be provided that information to, again, get those books out and make sure that they get there on time. In the beginning, when we started this process, there were a lot of association offices that were closed. Some still are. Some have minimal staff. So if in a case where you would want printed material, the thing I would need to know is, of course, how many books for that particular class and where to ship them. If you want them shipped to the association office or if you want them shipped to an alternate address. But whether it's the association office or an alternate address, all the materials would go to that particular address. As John mentioned, related to the evaluations, previously in book orders, you got the printed exams and you got the printed evaluations. Those items will no longer be part of the printed book orders. Other than that, that's pretty much about it as it relates to books. Again, if you wanted printed materials, I need to know at least 2 weeks prior to the class start date. Anything less than 2 weeks prior to that date, only the PDF of that material will be available. Thank you.
Thanks, Gregory. We got a couple more things we just want to address before we get to the full-out Q&A. And so let's go ahead and move to Deb. You're going to talk about TREC.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention real quick. We had a discussion with TREC recently about compliance on our website. And one of the things that I just wanted to mention to this group, we were all compliant, everything's good. But one of the things that they mentioned is if you are partnering with an online partner, that when you go to that online partner site, your logo should not be on there, because that is misleading to the person that's taking that class. So we have a partnership with the CE shop, and we have asked that they take our logo off of the landing page where they would go if they click on from our league. So it's a real simple thing that if you do have an online partnership, that's something that you might want to take a look at before you get audited for it. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thanks, Deb. And the other thing you'd also mentioned before was the idea that we've always heard about this idea that TREC can enforce things. We've never seen them. I've been there for 15 years and no one's ever come. But now they actually have an enforcement division. And with that, Gwen Jackson's actually going around and looking at what people are doing. The one they've actually talked to us, namely Deb, and had a few conversations about specifically our website. And we've also heard from other instructors and what have you. So just as an FYI, they're actually enforcing things now. But I will say this, it's very pleasant in that they recognize that they've had all these rules, but they've never actually defined them. And we as providers have been trying to do the best we can with the information that we've been provided. We thought we were in compliance, and come to find out we were not. And so right now, even though it's called enforcement, they're really helping us identify and shore up some clarity of what exactly they're looking for and what exactly they're expecting with their rules. So just as an FYI, it is possible that we might be reaching out to you, or if you have your own provider or you work with other providers, they might be reaching out to you just to let you know, hey, by the way, there's some changes, and this is why. They're providing further clarity in their expectations of their rules. And so we will all be on the same page and actually in complete compliance and not just in perceived compliance. So that was the one thing we wanted to make sure we mentioned about that. Did I catch it all? Is there anything else?
No, I think that was, I think that's it. You know, it was a very friendly exchange. It wasn't like that, you know, that we're getting, you know, some kind of notice or anything. So it's just wanting to make sure that the person that's seeing the advertisement or the web page or whatever is getting accurate information. So that's all they're trying to do. But I just wanted to throw that in there, so I had something to say.
Thanks, Deb. Well, you have a lot more to say in just a minute. We're going to make sure you have time for that. So I'll blow through a couple of things really fast. We have actually made some massive updates to our Instructor Training Institute just to talk about content revisions. There's a lot of things just to make sure that we're engaging adult learners in an effective way. In addition to that, just as an FYI, the book is fairly monstrous right this minute. The presentation is not necessarily going to be. The book is mainly used as a resource of a how-to in some capacity, and the ITI is actually about concept. A lot of people have asked, is the ITI something that we are going to offer or allow or consider in a remote setting? And the answer is maybe. We'll see. You know, at this point, we're holding our breath to see where does this go and what does this look like as time progresses. It is something that if you're interested in offering it at your association, it is a possibility that you can do. So you're welcome to reach out if you're interested, but we want to let you know about the ITI. In addition to that, there's two other certifications, the TRLS and TRPM. They're about leasing and property management. Those two are also going under revisions. The committee is looking at those and making some changes. So they might come here in the near future. We will keep you posted on those. Just want to let you know about those two things. Deb, you want to talk about the GRI?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to mention that we, thanks that Shiloh is here. She's been doing a phenomenal job in getting everything up to snuff, as it were. She's been working on the technology day, and I still have to go through and see all the recommended changes that she had to that. But after that, we'll be ready to start incorporating that into the material. But I just wanted to mention that when we do that, because I know it's a long-awaited update for the GRI, but we will give you plenty of notice and make sure that you have the printed materials in plenty of time before we start offering it. And the instructors, of course, need time as well. So we'll make sure that they have that as well. Do you want me to go ahead and talk about the commercial course, John?
Yes, please.
Okay. We have, thanks. We've been working for quite some time trying to get the commercial courses through TREC. And with everything that's happened, it kind of delayed things a bit. We've had 2 of the courses that are approved, and we are waiting for the third one to go through the approval process. And we'll be starting to schedule those, and we'll be reaching out to you to see if that's something that you would want to, participate as far as registrations. Obviously, the first one, we'll have to be doing it in a virtual setting. So that should be interesting, but we'll also be having instructors that will be auditing that at the same time. We do have the new covers, and we've got an approval process for the instructors in place, so we're good there. But I'll give you more information on that as we move along.
Do you also want to talk? Thank you, Deb. Go ahead.
No, I said not today. I'm not going to give you more information, but.
Yeah. Did you want to also cover the conversation about instructor versus association classes?
Oh boy, yeah, that's a heavy one. I've noticed, and I know that the association staff has noticed, and I'm opening up a can of worms here. But we've got a few instructors that have kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, gone rogue on us, and they're offering classes on their own, and under our provider, which they can do that. But I just want to assure all the local association staff that we are definitely aware of the situation and are trying to figure out a way that we can not push away our instructors, because those instructors could have their own provider and they could go out on their own completely. So we don't want to do that, but we also want to make sure that they continue to have their loyalty to the local association. So we'll be trying to put something in place so that they are encouraged to work with the local associations. If that's, John, you may want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, the predecessor is we have allowed specific instructors, namely our GRI instructors, to offer a class through our provider with a service level agreement. And the primary reason why is because upon occasion they have a specific brokerage or specific people that that they can offer the class, and they have a few people here and there. They might have maybe an average of 150 people in a given year. Well, now that the geography is no longer no longer a factor, that changes things. Their limitation of the number of people can drastically change from 15 to 20 people in a class that they might choose to offer on their own to 100. And that, while we're honoring the agreement at this point, we recognize that that is not something that is conducive to the environment that we're trying to maintain with association staff. And so we want to make sure that when we're operating, we're doing it in alignment with and through primarily local associations. And so with that, we're going to change the way it's done. We just don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, because as Deb mentioned, nothing's stopping them from becoming their own provider. And so we just want to make sure that as we're moving forward with them, that we have a chance to make sure that it's a quality educational experience, but more importantly, that that you guys are obviously a part of the conversation. And so with it, just know that the changes in the air, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and we are interested in your feedback, but we don't know exactly how that's going to be conveyed. And as we do know, we will let you know. So yeah. With that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you guys have any, be sure and write to John and I. You can copy both of us if you have any feedback or thoughts on that, because we do want to take all of that into consideration. And, just please know that our first priority is the local associations and working with them. We have a great cadre of instructors, but we also want to make sure that our partnership with you is working, and it's in your benefit. So.
Did you want to talk about the broker education?
I don't think we really have time today. Let's save that for another day, if you don't mind, because we've got just about 5 minutes to keep to the hour. So I want to make sure people have time to ask questions if they want.
You got it. Shiloh, do we have any aggregate questions or anybody asking?
Yeah, we have a couple, and I think we can go through them pretty quickly. Okay, so for the first one from Moji, can the association pay the $25 fee instead of the instructor?
Yes, we will always invoice the instructor because that's our process and protocol, but if you want to pay it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Awesome. And then the second question from Lisa and Shannon, is there a way to add, for the report that comes back from evaluations, to add how many people participated in the evaluation?
Yes. I don't have another answer. Yes, it's possible. Yeah, it's entirely possible. I'll have to, we'll have to kind of take a look at that to make sure that we can put it in a way that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, just about anything's possible. So sure, yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, we just have to count how many we got, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then two other quick questions that have just come in. So Karen, if we are doing an in-person GRI class, the test will still be through Class Marker, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And then just one clarification on where we place our logos. So the question is, so we can't have a logo on the CE shop. You're muted, Deb.
Sorry about that. Yes. When you are when you're promoting education, you can have their information on your website, but when they click on that to go to the CE shop website, what Gwen was telling me is that she does not want to see our logo on that page, and I've informed the CE shop that that's the ruling or whatever that you want to call it, and that would be across the board. So hopefully they're taking care of that. But if you have other providers, that you might want to just let them know that once they land on that page, that they do not want to see your local association logo or our state association logo on there, because it's confusing to the person that's taking the education as to who the provider actually is.
All right, I think, and that
I didn't see that comment.
There's just one more question about that, about logos and different providers advertising on local association websites. Those two things are different though, right?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
So the question is, what about different providers advertising on the local association website?
That is not what they're concerned about. What they're concerned about is when the person lands on the provider's page where they're actually going to be taking the education, what they don't want to see is two logos. Like, they only want to see the logo of the provider. So, for example, if you went to the CE shop through our portal, then it would likely show, I don't know if they fixed it yet, but they have the CE shop, and then they also have our logo up there. And that's what Gwen said they're having an issue with, is that when you actually land on their page, that she does not want to see the partner's logo on there. Does that make sense? John, you're looking at me strangely.
Yeah, it does.
No, I'm good. I was reading, sorry.
Yeah, and the only other question was about putting the CRES evaluation online, and that's something that we can talk about and move forward with later, noting that it is 2:02.
I'll add to that really quick. So I've actually talked to Don Hebke and also Maria Cardenas at CSRE and also REBI about their evaluation forms. And I think Shiloh had this idea of putting our evaluation form into a Google form. I think it took you 2 business days because we kept changing things on you. But at the end of the day, it didn't take any time at all. We told them, hey, you can do this too. And because otherwise, if you're like me, I don't have a printer at home. And so therefore, you're asking me to take this, download it, print it, and then try and scan it and send it back to you. And that's just not going to happen, just FYI. So if you want me to do an evaluation, it needs to be electronic. And they said, that's a great idea. We're going to look into that. That was 2 months ago. And so, and we've mentioned it twice in a public setting. And so I'm hoping that they do something like that. I totally agree. Unfortunately, it's not our evaluation. And so even if we make those changes, and even if people fill them out, that doesn't mean that CSRE or REBI will accept them. So we're still trying to work on it. I totally agree. It's a great idea. I'm not going to lie. Texas is on top of things and everybody else is trying to catch up. And so hopefully we'll get them to catch up and get to that point. But right now we're working with them, but it's their evaluation. So we're trying to get them to adopt it. So that was the only comment I had about that.
Thanks, John. And then we have one more question about books, and that and the question is, when will the transition for GRI printed books to only being available online or for a fee? When will that transition happen?
I don't know if John's
Dad, did you want that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can take it. Yeah.
I was trying to hit mute. No, I was trying to hit unmute really fast and I couldn't do it. So you can go ahead, or I can. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. You know, we've talked about this a lot. And one of the things that I want to emphasize is that we have not increased our fees since John and I first, like in 2007, when we first got our license. We haven't increased our rebag fee. We haven't increased any of our GRI fees. And so one way that we can kind of offset the increasing cost of providing the courses is to start charging for the materials if they so need it, you know, if they want it. Not everybody does, but if they do, then we're offering options where we can either have them printed and you can charge them, you know, and we'll invoice you. We're not going to be making money on this. This is going to be just on a cost recovery basis. Whatever it costs us to print them, that's what we're going to pass along. So it's just a way for us to keep our costs in check. So
well,
January
and the
1st.
one thing I was
yeah.
And the one thing I was going to mention about that, in addition to everything else, just to kind of tie everything in, thankfully, everything that we have done up until this point, we've actually been working on and developing and looking at for years. You know, so this idea of moving to an electronic environment for our materials, or an electronic exam, or electronic evaluations, or even completely remote delivery, like this is stuff that we've been dabbling in for a while. So in all reality, even though it took a pandemic to get to this point, like this is not anything new or news for us. Now, transitioning in a very short amount of time, that was a little crazy. I think we can all agree with that. But thanks to you guys for adapting so quickly and adjusting for the benefit of the members so quickly. And thankfully, we had already been looking at this stuff for years. And so we're moving into this environment to where this is an option as we continue to go forward to do both. You can have an in-person, hopefully sooner than later. You can have a remote completely or a hybrid thereof. And so our goal is to get to that environment so that way we can continue to offer this service to our members. And so with that, I think it's now a good time for, Deb, do you have a couple more closing remarks?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for participating. I don't know how many we had in the session today, but we greatly appreciate it. We look forward to you attending the future ones that we're going to host. We hope that this is a benefit to you and that you're getting some good information out of it. I want to acknowledge, I don't know if Lori is still on the call, and Linda and Sherry, our other committee chair, vice chair and liaison, but I just wanted to also acknowledge them. You don't have to speak or anything. I just wanted to acknowledge that they were present and paying attention to what's going on. So as always, you can always reach out to either John or I through email or by phone. Our office lines ring into our mobile number. So, and we can pick it up on our computers or wherever. So our phone system is also Zoom. So it's whatever you guys, however you want to reach out, please do. you have anything else, John?
Yeah, I got 3 things really fast. One, we're going to send out an invite for next Tuesday, and it'll go out tomorrow, so make sure you register for that. In addition to that, we're going to also send a survey out to you guys because on June 2nd, I think it's June 2nd, no, after that, whatever date it is, there's a speaker showcase that we're going to do where we're going to have instructors be able to present to you guys for a few minutes as a showcase. And we want to get your feedback is what are you looking for in an instructor? What do you want them to answer before they even start presenting? And so we're going to gather that information from you guys. So be on the lookout for a survey for that. And then as Deb has always said, we're always accessible. And so if you need any one of us at any time, just as an FYI, if you don't know who needs to hear whatever or answer whatever, there's a general email address called education@texasrealtors.com. That goes to all of us, literally all of us. And so you're welcome to send it to that, and whoever needs it will access it and make sure they respond. So we just want to make sure you know that we're always accessible. And just because this hour is up doesn't mean that we're done talking. This is a continuation of a collaborative environment. So our goal is to continue on in this process, not just a Q&A, but an opportunity for all of us to grow together. And so thank you all for your time. We greatly appreciate it. And if there's not any other further remarks, I think we can officially be done. Anything? Anybody? All right. Well, thank you all very much. Y'all have a great afternoon.